What's happening, friends? Welcome to Unlocked episode 420. It's going to be a fun one.
Yeah.
Can we get past the giggles?
It's going to be a good episode.
We're in California. We could be actually high right now, but we're not because we're at work and we value our jobs.
It's a drug reference.
Thank you, Destin. Coming up on this week's episode of Unlocked, it's already going so great. We're going to talk all about X019, Microsoft's big event last week. They've been building toward it for quite a while, and it was a big show. There is plenty to discuss, so stay tuned for that right after our fun little theme music.
Podcast Unlocked.
All right, friends, what's happening? I'm Ryan McCaffrey. To my left, Brandon Tyrell.
Hello.
You got the Xbox look going today, the black with the green there.
It's important to dress on brand.
Yeah, could you match the lighting and the background?
That way, if I say something stupid, I can just turn
blend in
and
like
blend
a chameleon. Not Brandon. You're Brandon. You're Destin.
Hi again. Hey,
Bam,
what's up?
baby. The mics are super sensitive.
Did you cover your mic to lessen the bam?
Bam! The mics are really sensitive
We're
today.
losing listeners by the moment.
No, we're not. They're jamming out with me. They're hyped.
All right, we've got plenty to get to. So welcome to Podcast Unlocked. It is episode 420. You know, we only get one 420 on this show ever.
Yeah.
So let's make it a good one. But it'll be fun. We'll have a good time. Real quick, I want to promote something Xbox related. The November episode of IGN Unfiltered is up now, and it's with Phil Harrison. No, not Phil Spencer. The other cool Phil from who was an Xbox executive. Phil Harrison was a longtime Sony executive, and if you remember, if his name sounds kind of familiar. He went over and after a pit stop at Atari in between Sony and Microsoft, he joined Microsoft. He was one of the executives there kind of running European studios in the late 360, early Xbox One era. So I talked to him all about that. Take a look at that on YouTube, on IGN, or on your favorite podcast services. So ends my big selfless self-promotion of the week. Okay. I wanted to start also, before we get to X019, by wishing a happy 18th birthday to the original Xbox. Congratulations, You're legal. Just like weed. You're on episode 420.
Oh,
Jesus, Destin.
God.
Oh, man.
I don't even know where to begin.
I don't even know where to go with this anymore.
Happy birthday. You can legally vote and buy scratchers.
Don't do that, though, because that's just...
I think before the show, Ryan's like, Phil might be watching today. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, we have fun. What the heck? Who cares, really? Well, I mean, we care, but who cares about whether or not anyone else is having fun? As long as we're having fun. So,
Take the happy moments while you can get them.
original Xbox, 18 years old.
right.
Number one, this makes me feel old, for starters.
Yep.
Makes me feel very, very old. But I thought it would be fun, piggybacking off of a tweet I made that got a ton of pickup from all of you guys last week. The Xbox verified account just did a happy 18th birthday Xbox. And so I quote tweeted that and said, post your 5 favorite original Xbox games. Not the best, your 5 favorite. And a lot of people seem to have fun with that, so I thought we would do it here. Destin, kick us off.
Chronicles of Riddick, Escape from Butcher Bay.
Excellent
Fantastic
choice.
game.
Tell us, so for those that aren't aware, so that game is backwards compatible via, I believe it's the 360 version, the remake, which was Assault on something Dark Athena. Yeah, so you can play it on Xbox One via the 360 version of the original Xbox version.
Yeah.
But why was that game awesome? Because it was.
It did a lot with the storytelling. First of all, the story that they actually told about Riddick and him getting his night vision basically was really, really cool. It takes place in this prison and had a lot of A-list actors associated with it. So that was all going on for it. It also used light and dark, like it used the stealth sort of mechanic that allowed you to sort of sneak around and take out soldiers. And I just liked the progression of the game. I liked the stealth element. I liked everything looked really impressive for the time. It was like above and beyond a lot of what we had seen. This was an original Xbox game, and it was doing stuff that we wouldn't see again till like the 360 era, basically.
I remember,
it was amazingly impressive.
I remember when when now I'm blanking on the name of the developer because the core of that developer left to become to form Machine Games.
Volition? Was it Volition?
No, not Volition. Dang, it'll come to me later. But anyway, when they came by to show us back at OXM, they came by to preview the game. The main menu of that game,
the cube,
is a cube that like transforms, and it used normal mapping, which was a really fun new graphics technique back on the original Xbox that kind of gave this sort of appearance of texture to things, and the cube would just spin around as you chose different options on the menu. And I remember, we were all just mesmerized by the menu, by the cube itself. But you're right, that game, I mean, it came out of nowhere really to be one of the best first-person action game campaigns in years. I mean, it was.
Yeah,
it had like NPC stuff, right? You could talk to other people. It had the stealth stuff. There was the neat. You went down in the sewer later, and then it turned into like kind of a Doom 3 horror kind of game with the shotgun. And good
very
call.
very fun.
I never played this game. I never played it. I've always heard people talk about it with reverence. Really, it was such a cool game back then. But Chronicles of Riddick was never really my thing. So did the game come out after Pitch Black?
It came out after Pitch Black, so there was
before the Chronicles of Riddick movie.
Yeah, before the second movie, which was largely not great. It was mostly a dud, and it was sort of fascinating. There wasn't really a movie tie-in. Maybe the second movie was almost released. I don't know. Do you?
You know what?
I think it was just
recall.
out of nowhere. They released it. I know Vin Diesel had involvement.
Heavy involvement.
Yeah.
He had started a studio called Tygon Studios.
That's what it was.
And it was made by Starbreeze. That was the developer I was blanking on a few minutes ago. I had to cheat and look it up.
I don't know why I thought Volition for some reason. But
no worries. Well, they made another cool game, Red Faction Guerrilla.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, and Diesel was fairly heavily involved, like with helping shape that game. That game came out of nowhere. What a great pick, Brandon. Give me one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go with the easy one here because I know it's on a lot of people's lists. But
Malice,
the low hanging fruit. Tau Fist. No, what was it?
Tau Fang, Fist of the Lotus.
Fang, Fist of the Lotus. What a. Oh my God! No,
that was John Tobias's game. He the Mortal Kombat co-creator.
I remember like they had the X-ray. That was the big selling point as well. It's like they had the
and I believe that
X-ray
was the
damage.
one. I think that one got pulled off of shelves for having. It was like a culturally offensive bit of music. I think it was music.
I thought I was misremembering, but it did have some sort of like cultural insensitivity in it.
Yeah. Anyway.
Anyway, gone. That's
my
too bad.
actual pick, not to bury the lead here, my actual pick is clearly, obviously, has to be Halo 2.
2, yes.
Why Halo 2? That's such an interesting choice.
Little spoiler, Combat Evolved also appears on my list of top 5 favorite games.
Mine too.
On the original Xbox. Really no shocker there. But so my background, growing up as a kid, I played just a ton of RPGs, JRPGs and all that. So I really loved long, involved, single player, hero, savior of the world story games. The original Xbox is really the first time, and I can back it up with another game on my list, but it was really the first time that I was introduced to online gaming in a way that was accessible, kind of right out of the box.
Oh, yeah.
I remember, I'm just going to go ahead and spoil it a little bit.
Take it.
Another game on my list, one of my favorite games on the original Xbox, it was Mech Assault.
Nice.
It was
good pick.
It was the game that came with my Xbox. I believe it came with my Xbox. It's been a while, but I remember that being the first online game I got into, and I'm like, holy crap. I'm playing against other people in their living rooms.
Yeah.
So really, the original Xbox was sort of ushered in that sort of future of online gaming for me. And Mech Assault was really the first taste of it. And then Halo 2 just blew the whole thing out of the water. I played that forever, like just 8 hours. It feels like 8 hours a day for weeks upon weeks upon weeks.
The game was spectacular.
It really was. The first one. The second one left a little to be desired.
Because of the campaign?
Mech Assault 2 was, the
Oh,
campaign
Mech
was
Assault.
not
I'm
great.
talking Halo.
Yeah,
we're back to
I
Halo.
jumped over to Halo 2. Yeah, Mech Assault, it was great, but Halo 2 really, like Mech Assault was that first taste of online competition, and Halo 2 really, I think, kind of refined it and just became like what I did every day.
What's astounding about Halo 2 of many things is that I can look you straight in the eye with a straight face, say you just managed to undersell Halo, not on purpose. It's like that's how good
Halo 2.
That's how high a level Halo 2 took it to. I mean, the party system that Max Hoberman and his team designed,
The ranking system, I remember actively like playing with a group of friends, and this was one of the first games I made friends with strangers online.
Me
like,
too.
hey, you are really good at a sniper. Do you want to group up?
Yeah.
And then we just started the quest for, what was it, rank 50, where you got that moon, the obsidian crescent moon as the rank, and that was the elite status. I never got it, but
if I could go back in time to relive any gaming era of my life, like some people might pick, the first time I played games, like which for me was the original Nintendo and the original Super Mario Brothers. But no, I would straight honestly pick November of 2004 to about the 360 launch, a year later, because it was Halo 2 literally every night with real life friends, coworkers, and friends we made online,
strangers online,
and just everybody used their microphone the way it was intended to be used.
Not everybody.
They weren't playing
system.
music into there. They weren't screaming at the top of their lungs.
No, that stuff still happened.
Remember, Halo 2 as well had it had this brilliant mix of push to talk team chat.
Oh yeah.
If you had, I believe it was down on the D-pad, if my memory serves me correctly, which would broadcast to your whole team.
I have no memory of this.
But then if you just talked without doing that, it was proximity chat.
Yeah.
So you could just talk to
remember this now.
You could just talk to the teammates near you or to the enemies near you.
So like even if you were pressing TeamSpeak, if you were in earshot of an enemy, they would still hear you?
Yes.
Okay, that's right. Because I remember, was it Zanzibar? Was that Halo 2?
Yes.
I believe so.
Yeah,
okay.
you're right.
All my memories are getting mixed up. But I remember like sneaking, trying to get up to the base on
course.
Zanzibar, and then being like, hey, where are you? Hey, watch out, there's a guy there. And you're like, I can't say anything. Oh, God.
Yeah, and we really haven't, for whatever reason, maybe I think it's because, I know this is a whole other discussion, but party chat kind of, don't at me, ruined it. But because everybody just uses party chat.
Oh, yeah.
But like nobody implements voice talk like that way anymore. I will say notable exception, Sea of Thieves.
Yep.
Does a really good job of you can hear the other people nearby. It's got proximity chat.
There's nothing worse than like pulling up to port and then hearing someone talk, and you're like, oh God, are they under the boat? Are they hiding in the woods? Are they waiting to ambush? But Halo 2, hands down.
We could do a whole show on it.
Yeah.
And in fact, one of these days we will. But I will give you one here. So we talked about Halo 2. I will have to say Splinter Cell Chaos Theory.
Of course you do. Yes.
Yeah, it's. I still think it's if not the best stealth game ever made, it's the best stealth overall package ever. Thief 2 might be the greatest stealth game ever made for me, which was an old PC game. But the thing about Chaos Theory that rang true for me at the time, which I think still holds up, is it had a 10 out of 10 campaign. Just all the sort of open sandboxy missions. From the lighthouse was the first level, the lighthouse in the rain, and the way it would play with the lighting and the cloth, like the curtains blowing in the wind, and you'd sneak behind them, and your shadow would cast.
Immersion.
Yeah. Of course, the lighting engine was unbelievable in that game, and you could play total stealth. You could be a gadget freak, and you could take your SC-20K and you could put the sticky shockers on it and just zap all the guys, staying non-lethal. So you could just shoot them, or you could, if they were walking in a puddle, you could zap the puddle and it would zap them. There's so many great ways to go. Or you could actually just murder people if you wanted to do. I like that you could when you came up to choke somebody, you could non-lethally choke them with I think left trigger, or lethally choke them with right trigger, where you just stab them in the neck. And the bank mission, the Shanghai mission, the New York penthouse, so much good stuff. And then the Spies versus Mercs multiplayer, which had been introduced in the previous game, Pandora Tomorrow.
It was really kind of refined.
Taken to the next level, and then that complementary 2-player co-op campaign. It was 4 missions that you had to play together, and you played 2 ShadowNet agents, and you sort of Sam Fisher was doing his thing, and you'd occasionally like hear about him, but you guys were these other like young agents going in and doing stuff, and then they released 2 more missions for free later, so there ended up being 6 of them total. And you had the co-op moves, like you'd get to an elevator shaft and you'd go back to back and like
climb down it,
like spider climbing it together, or one person could crouch and the other person could run up and the other guy could toss him and you could lunge into a guy to just take him out. That game was unreal, so good. Brandon, give me another one.
Another one? I have another one.
Well, he said my name. Obviously, another big name on the list of great original Xbox games, but Fable. Like I loved Fable.
So and Fable 1 was the only one that ended up being on the original Xbox. The future ones came to 360.
To 360, yeah. I think I enjoyed Fable 1 probably. I mean, Fable 2 I think was a better game. I didn't really enjoy Fable 3 because it leaned more into like the sort of further time periods.
Yeah, it went too far in the future.
It was like sort of an industrial age.
I think even
feeling.
Molyneux has admitted that. I think on Unfiltered with me, he talked about that.
Oh,
like
did he?
He shouldn't have gone.
He should have kept it a little. Yeah. But yeah, man, Fable 1, like that fairy tale fantasy, the sort of misty past of Great Britain where it's set in Albion, of course. But still, go back and watch the Fable 1 trailer. And it starts with that music, and then you get the camera sweeping over Albion and like through the dark forests, and the music is just so indicative of a fairy tale, and everything about that game was just thematically. I like that game more than I think I do mechanically, but it was back in a time where you would have options based on the way you play, which isn't something that you saw a whole lot. Right?
True.
Like you do more melee attacks, you buff up your melee because the orbs that they would drop would be a certain color.
Correct.
Very similar to Crackdown.
And
right?
the good evil system as well.
Yeah, so by the end of it, you're either a paragon in big golden armor with a halo around your head, or you're Ryan.
A literal halo.
Literal halo. Yeah, absolutely. Everything about that is on point. Or you're Ryan, who runs around with just this dark, sunken thing with like horns coming out of your head.
Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah, I know. Well, I played it Paragon, and then I went back and replayed it as evil. But the thing that I really loved about that game that just strikes out is, yes, the monsters, they were big and small, and you fought Banderhops and whatever the werewolves were called in there. But there was a lot of variety to the game, and then you got to these points where like they would do puzzle doors or what were they? They were
I'm blanking on them
riddle doors or something.
Yeah.
But they would say a riddle, and then what I love the most is when a game marries narrative and mechanics in one. And these doors were super indicative of that.
Yeah, you had to figure it out.
They would give you a riddle,
and they were tough too.
And then you had to mechanically solve it. It's not just like, I need to find the chicken foot from that village over there. It was like, to get into this door, you need to pierce the heavens or something. You have to shoot like 10 arrows in the air. It's just an example. I don't think that was actually a door, but they married narrative and mechanics in a way that it was just like, man, that game fired on all cylinders for me, and I still think about it to this day.
Good stuff. Destin?
Yeah. So this is an entry that I've talked about on the show before, but it's Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six 3. And I think that one was really important because it was one of the early adopters of the Xbox Live mechanic where you could actually play against other people. And like your experiences with Halo, it was one of the first times where I had to get with a team and they taught me new mechanics and we learned how to work better together as a team to defeat the opponents. It had the lean system, which was really, really interesting. And it came with a microphone, and that's why I think a lot of people bought it, because it was a bundled-in deal that you could get. So you get a microphone for a reasonable price, and you get a really good game.
Because you could use the microphone in single player and
Yes.
order your AI guys
that's
around,
right.
which was super cool at the
Was
time.
this the one where you could put your face on your character as well, or was that?
I think that
or
was
the
Raven
Vegas
Shield.
one?
I think that was Raven Shield. It might have been Vegas. I know that technology was added later in the
No, because
Rainbow
the
Six
Vision
series,
camera
though.
came with the 360 later. That was not
Did
an
it?
original
Okay.
Xbox.
So that's Vegas then.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was was Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six 3, and then it was Rainbow Six 3 Raven Shield, which was a separate entry. Both fantastic games, though. But the Rainbow series, it's continued to be great, through the years. And that was one of the really, really important iterations of that game because of the Xbox Live inclusion. And it was before Halo 2.
Yeah, that game came out in Holiday 03. I reviewed it for OXM back in the day. And you're right, that was back when Major Nelson would publish the top 10 games played on Xbox Live like every week.
Yeah.
And Rainbow Six 3 was number one from the time it came out for the entire year up until Halo 2 finally came out and dethroned it. I mean, it was arguably the first killer app of Xbox Live before Halo 2 came in and really kind of just shook the earth forever.
Yeah.
But
that was
a great game.
That was back in the day when I would rent as many games as I could through GameFly so I could have a good, library of games to be playing regularly. And I bought that one instantly.
Yeah.
Like I rented it once and I was like, no, I'm buying this. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Very, very fun entry.
Yeah.
Look at you now, leading raids with Destiny, working together.
Using those skills you learn.
Bossing people around. Bad about that.
Another one for me is Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic.
It's on my list too.
July 2003, probably the best game to ever release in the summer in the history of the world.
Yeah.
Just an unbelievable game. I remember I had wanted to review it, and it's to this day it's my favorite. I think it's
your
still
greatest regret that you never were able to review it.
I think it's still my favorite role-playing game ever.
Really?
With Mass Effect 1's in there. It's close, which is both the same team, coincidentally enough. And then, East Book 1 and 2, which is a classic from back in the day on the TurboGrafx CD-ROM system. But yeah, KOTOR it was. No one had ever seen a Star Wars game with that sort of narrative depth to it ever.
Yeah, arguably RPGs as well. Like that,
yeah, I mean
that game was just.
The journey it took you on, you built your own lightsaber, you got these cool party members like HK-47. There was a massive story twist that was so good, and you could play good or evil. You could go full. There was a meter on in your character profile, and your actions would either be light side actions or dark side actions. And being dark side in that was so much fun because I remember there was one part where you agree to do something and then you talk to another guy and you agree to double cross him. And then there's another guy and then you could double cross the double cross basically. And it was just games hadn't let us do that stuff before. And it was just so great. Knights of the Old Republic.
That game
was and is just so tremendous. It might, I actually recommended it. My 12-year-old nephew, he plays a lot of games on his iPad. He plays PUBG on his iPad.
Oof.
That's because kids now that's what they do. They're on like they have a Switch and they have an Xbox, but the tablets and phones are gaming consoles for them just as much as the original Nintendos were for us.
It's no joke. There's huge audiences for these mobile games, and they're getting better and better.
Better, yeah, absolutely. And so I knew that I think it was Aspire had remade. Somebody had polished up and ported over the original KOTOR for iPad. So I said, "Oh, you should," and he loves Star Wars. He said, "You should download this," and he did, and he just finished it recently, and he loved it. So
that's great.
That's
awesome.
So it's and it's also compatible on 360. It was one of that first batch of on Xbox One, the original Xbox games that are compatible now. So still playable, and you can download it for $10 on the game store.
Dude,
Xbox
I
Game Store.
have a sad confession. I have never been able to finish that game.
Really?
Yeah, I've gotten, I don't know, 6 hours into it.
Yeah.
Like when you get to the city.
Right.
And about there, I just get distracted by some other release or something. I've never been able to sit and...
Do you know the twist?
No, I don't.
Oh, I don't want to ruin it.
Yeah, I don't know the twist. I've probably been told it, but I've forgotten
I want to
already.
lock you in a
probably
room with
have.
that video game so you can just play it.
How long? It's like
It's a 40-hour game.
Yeah,
It's long.
I
Well,
need to commit to it.
And
do
then
it.
there's a ton of side stuff because I actually didn't play it when it came out. I played it probably 5 years later. I was just dead sick one week And I lived with like 4 or 5 other guys in a tiny apartment at that time.
Yeah.
So I was actually staying at my girlfriend's house, and she was at work, and I'm like, well, I don't have all my games, but I have this. And so I played it throughout an entire week, and I think it took me more than 40 hours just by the depth of it and how much side stuff there is to do.
Yeah.
God, the lore in that game, if you like actually sat there and read it all, is so fantastic. Was that part where you get on the desert planet where the old Sith temple is?
I don't remember.
It's like the Valley of the Sith or something.
If you showed me a screenshot, I'm sure it would take me right back.
Korvan or something like that. Anyway, there's you literally like the Colossus of Rhodes, like that size of a statue. There are just 6 or 12 big statues of like ancient Sith lords, and I remember just standing there looking at him, just being like, "That's the coolest thing I've ever seen."
Just unbelievable.
Talked to Mark Dara actually, like when we were doing the Anthem IGN first, and he said they snuck some lore stuff in there that was like a big no-no, but it's in there and it was canon until they recently
until Disney came along.
Until Disney came along, and he was like, "Yeah, they have a very thorough vetting process for storytelling in games about Star Wars."
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And like that went through everything, so it was canon until recently, and it's just kind of a neat.
Yeah. All right, let's just each. I want to get to X019, so let's just each do one more real quick. Favorite original Xbox game as it turns 18.
I'll do one really quick.
Go.
It's Halo 1. Yeah, we didn't mention Halo 1. It's kind of like a given.
Yeah.
But Halo 1 was the game that got me into Xbox. I played it
I
played it at a house party, and I'm like, I need this console. And Halo 1 is why I probably work here today, because I had largely stopped playing a lot of games during the N64 and PS1 era.
Yeah.
And then as I got older, I had a little bit of money, and I was able to get the consoles at the time, GameCube, PS2, Xbox.
Yes.
But Halo was the game that did that for me. And then like with Xbox Connect, getting to play that online, sort of cheating the system. But there was this huge community playing it online, and it wasn't perfect.
XB Connect.
Yeah.
You could play Halo on. I remember playing Blood Gulch against random people online.
It would often have a bit of lag, though.
It was not perfect,
but
it showed you the potential of what that service could do.
And like then that's when Halo 2 kind of picked it up, right? But I remember on XB Connect, like you'd see a Banshee flying through the sky, and then it'd be like,
kind of skip along, okay,
and then all of a sudden you're dead.
I'll give you. So this was tough for me because it's that sort of fifth game on my list is like, oh man, there's so many, but I'm gonna go. The original version of my list had I put Breakdown on there. It's a total cult classic, but no, the better answer when I thought of it later, Ninja Gaiden.
Ooh,
Ninja Gaiden is.
You're a big fan.
That game, I stand by. I think it's still the best pure fast action game ever made. All due respect to the Devil May Cries and the what have yous of the world, but Ninja Gaiden is it's so perfect in so many ways. Like it's technically perfect. It's 60 frames all the time on the original Xbox. The boss design is amazing. It's tough but fair. It's walks that line. It is very tough, but it is very fair. There were cool, you could upgrade your weapons, and there was a whole shop system and buying. I mean, the story was even good. Like that is. I mean that was the game that put Itagaki on the map forever. Ninja Gaiden 2 was on the 360, wasn't as good. And then Ninja Gaiden 3 was made without Itagaki, and it was not as good. Ninja Gaiden 1 it's just like, it is, if you need a good action game, and also another one, original Xbox, compatible on Xbox
Backwards
One.
compatible, yeah.
Please go play it if you have not already, because it's like that's the original Dark Souls. We talk about what's the next Souls?
I knew you were going to say that. Tough but fair, the original Dark Souls.
I mean, we laid the groundwork for all that stuff.
We did a couple Let's Plays of it when it came to backwards compatibility. They're up on IGN right now.
Yeah,
Mitchell and CJ
are like actually professional. Right?
They have a full Let's Play of Ninja Gaiden 1 and 2 with no deaths,
which is insane
on IGN. Yeah. And I think they finished. I think they did 3 actually
on Master Ninja difficulty, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, which is real hard.
Those two are insanely good at that game.
Well, CJ, who
CJ was a pro.
He's at Bungie now.
Was from Fireteam Chat and he worked here. Now he's at Bungie, but he actually like competed in tournaments for that game.
Yeah,
which is I didn't know you could do that for single player action games. But
well, there's the Hurricane Pack DLC added some like leaderboard stuff, so that's where all that came from. Brandon, take us home before we move on to X019.
Oh man,
here.
I'm going to end on a weird note because we've already talked about my top 5, which was Halo, Halo 2, KOTOR, Mech Assault, and Fable. But I put in some honorable mentions because I had a feeling this was going to happen. So like there were a bunch of other games I loved. Mercenaries I thought was excellent.
Oh, that was good. That was like the first.
It was like the first Grand Theft Auto
clone that was good.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
But the one I'm gonna say is, Crimson Skies was so good as well. But the one I want to talk about is maybe a little known one, but it was called Hunter the Reckoning.
Oh yeah, that was early original Xbox too.
It was a twin stick shooter. Set in modern day, but it was like modern day horror fantasy. So you played, there was, oh my God, they were all so stereotypical. The 4 characters, there was a priest with a shotgun and a trench coat. And then there was this like raver girl with like dual pistols, and she could like jump and fire them via the Matrix. But anyway, it was a twin stick shooter that had local co-op. And I played that game front to back, probably 6 or 7 times with one friend of mine. That's just kind of how we spent one summer.
Yeah.
And it's just such a really, it kicked off a whole love for us of like isometric, like Champions of Norath, Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance. Like it kicked off this
right
love
there with you,
of like isometric twin stick shooting kind of games, and it was a blast.
Action RPGs rather than twin stick shooter. I think would be more fair to say, right?
And then they came out with a sequel called I want to say it was Hunter the Reckoning Redeemer.
Something like that.
I want to say,
yeah.
I don't actually remember if that was better or worse, but that game is kind of a blast from the past, and it had a cool motif, and I don't know, it had some really nice memories.
Well, good stuff. Happy 18th birthday to the original Xbox. Just so many good games. It's astounding for a 4-year life cycle on that console, and Microsoft's first entry into the video game market. How many legitimately
bangers.
Great games? Yes, that there were. I mean, it's kind of amazing how deep that lineup was.
And I still think it's got one of the best boot up visuals and sounds of all time,
with the NASA stuff mixed in.
Well, the NASA stuff, but like as soon as you press that button, it was like boom.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. Thank you, Seamus Blackley. All right, X019. You guys probably all watched it last week. If you didn't, there was a lot in there. Not a lot of major stuff, but the big stuff was Rare's new game. Yes, a new, assumedly next generation game from Rare, because they didn't say anything about Xbox One or Scarlet. So
Everwild.
It is way out there. Yes, Everwild. Destin, they sort of explain it's a very vague.
They haven't
trailer.
said much.
Yeah,
but basically,
what is your sort of, what is it as you saw it?
It's actually a really gorgeous, sort of that cel-shaded style look that a lot of the games that we saw during this conference actually had, but it seems to involve exploration and encountering different wildlife species, and you do that in a collaborative sense. And they showed one scene where 2 characters are walking together, and then they encounter what I can only describe as a deer or a moose, but with a twist that has like antlers that sort of fold in and then
they were clearly
unfurl.
like kind of alien.
It's like it's like Annihilation, the movie, right? It's like they take something grounded in reality and then add weird twists to it.
Or even like the odd characters you see in a movie like Avatar, or you know,
Right.
like sort of a fantasy but yet alien world. I think that's a good way of describing it. I'm really, really intrigued by it. I have to wonder what the mechanics are going to be, because yes, it's gorgeous. Yes, the characters look neat. I'm really intrigued, and I'm really happy Rare is developing something new. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Well, and I
What
think
is
that's
the
on purpose,
game
right?
mechanic?
That's the point of this announcement teaser was not to tell you explicitly what it is. But yeah, I'm with you. I love the art style. More so, actually, specifically the color palette on evident in this trailer. It's so vivid. Just the colors in it are so vivid and just gorgeous. So
and its use of light too. Like everything is bright.
Yes,
it feels almost like that bloom lighting effect that took the video game world by storm for a good 5 years.
but not in a gross, obnoxious
No,
way.
no,
like
not
we
at all.
saw
Not at all.
for a while.
Yeah, it reminded me a lot of some of the other games on Xbox are doing, like Ori. Ori has done a really good job of using the full range of the color palette to make these really, really fantastical worlds. And this also nailed that vibe.
Yeah, coincidentally, Everwild gave me a little bit of a vibe of Everwild gave me a little bit of a vibe of Michel Ancel's Wild for PS4 that still hasn't and probably never will come out.
Apparently, it's still in development as of
I don't know
earlier this year.
Gamescom 2014, I think that game was. So I'm not holding my breath anytime soon. But I have to. My guess would be that Everwild is using, if not the entire Sea of Thieves technology base, at least the networking portion of it, if not the graphics engine as well, because it to your point, Destin, it is clearly a large world. You know, we saw 3 players in the trailer.
Well, three characters.
Thank you. Yeah, you're right. 3 characters. So that suggests to me that it's probably using the Sea of Thieves network architecture to have people be able to adventure together in a big open.
I 100% agree.
So.
And you saw moments where like there was a big boulder or maybe a small cliff, I guess you could call it, and one character was helping another character like scramble up it.
Yeah.
So that says to me that's going to be like a kind of, I mean, as much as a 1-minute teaser trailer can, a sort of peaceful exploration game. But there is some antagonistic moments in it, right? Like there's that part in the trailer where they're walking up to the cave and you see the tiger. But over on the left, actually, you see like what appears to be ghost-like mushrooms or maybe some fungi. And then, of course, the music changes and the colors like become a little desaturated. So it seems like there is definitely there's got to be an obstacle, right? And and that's what it is. I got like sort of a never-ending story Fern Gully vibe to it, where it's like the natural evil is just sort of the destruction of nature.
Yeah. So that looked really good. I think for me that was the highlight of the show. Was that the highlight for you guys?
Everwild, yeah, absolutely. And it's also their first studio game, right?
What?
It's the first game that they revealed from Microsoft Studio, because that's what they said.
That's what they kicked off with.
Yes.
So that was.
So they're just saying that's their first reveal.
Till about 10 minutes later or 5 minutes later.
No, like 2 minutes later.
Well,
they went back to back. Yeah.
We'll get to that. I kind of want to. Let's go with the good stuff. Everything that we liked here. So Everwild, and then I was really impressed by Dontnod's new game, which is called Tell Me Why. Brandon, what are we telling? And don't tell me why, or rather, tell me why. Not don't nods. Tell me why. This is going to ruin me for a while.
I mean, it's another one of those sort of games that Dontnod does really well, which is narrative-based, sort of emotional stories centered around family and self-identity.
Episodic.
Episodic, yes. I believe. Did they say 5, or am I just thinking of?
I don't remember
every other.
But they'll all come to Game Pass. So this is a second-party exclusive in the same way that Quantum Break was, or Alan Wake was, that Remedy stuff used to be, where Dontnod is not owned by Microsoft. This is not one of the 15 studios, but it will be publishing exclusively on Xbox and PC, and every episode straight into Game Pass.
Mm-hmm. And one of the big sort of elements of it is I don't know if it's the first game, but it is one of the first games to feature a sort of transgender main character.
Yeah, it's a set of twins.
Okay,
siblings.
Is that what it was? Yeah.
Oh, siblings, not twins. Okay, my bad.
Well, I'm
not
the same
sure.
definition, but yeah, they are twins.
Okay, that's what
I'm not sure. I was like furiously writing news during that portion of it, so I missed some of the main details of it. But I know that I trust that studio to sort of handle things well.
Yeah, I mean I think they've earned the trust and respect there.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
It's nice to see the representation. Number one, and number two, I from a game perspective, I really like that this game and this game. The trailer made me think about Dontnod in general and everything they've been doing with Life is Strange and the couple seasons of that. It feels to me like Dontnod has really found their identity as this sort of this nice medium ground between Telltale's kind of very basic, just dialogue driven episodic adventure
choice
games.
Trees all the way down.
To And the middle ground between that and I know this is an Xbox podcast, but Quantic Dream, on whose stuff's all been on PS4 or just on PlayStation, they're sort of very high budget, super like cinematic adventure games with that are also dialogue driven, but more have some more mechanics. It's like the Dontnod stuff seems to kind of be living nicely between those two things, where it's not as simple as one or as it's still episodic. So I really want to see where this series, this episodic series goes, but a lot to like.
Yeah.
And then Age of Empires 4, just mentioning it only because don't think it's going to be coming to Xbox. I think this is PC only. I couldn't find it definitively, but I would be kind of surprised if it did come to Xbox.
They just did 1 and 2, didn't they? And that will be on Xbox.
Definitives. I'm not sure. I have to go back and look.
But
it's on that big list that we probably
AOE
have.
4 looked phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean,
it's just looked great.
It's great. And they started a new studio.
Yeah.
Which is the name of which is escaping me right now, but it's headed up by Shannon Loftus, and it is going to focus primarily on, if not only on, the Age of Empires series. So, and
then the other thing I thought highlight of this, hour and 35-minute event was that when you piece it all together, Microsoft's 2020 first-party lineup is really looking nice to the point. It's all finally starting to pay off. There were 2 significant first-party games this year.
released?
Gears 5 and Crackdown 3.
Yeah.
Last year there was
Sea of Thieves.
That was 2018 already, right?
Was it? Oh my God, was it? Yeah, I think
it wasn't 20. You're right. It wasn't
2018.
2018. So Sea of Thieves and was there any other?
I mean, Inside isn't an exclusive anymore.
That was 2016.
It was at the time. That was 2016.
But then it was. I think Halo Wars 2 was early last.
Yeah,
was 2018.
no, Halo Wars 2 was 17.
That was 2017.
Yeah.
But the point is, we've gotten like
It's
one
tough
or
that
two.
the fact that we're even having this conversation, right?
It's been 1 or 2 first party games. Not 1, but it's been like 2 or 3 at the most. But listen to this. So this is their first party lineup for the first half of 2020.
Yeah.
Pre-Scarlet announce, or whenever, or unless maybe they'll announce it in February, who knows? But just the first half of the year, and these are with total locked in release dates. You have Ori and the Will of the Wisps in February, which is almost certainly going to be great. You and I played it 2 years ago, and it was great then.
Yeah.
Bleeding Edge in March.
Yeah.
Minecraft Dungeons in April. Wasteland 3 in May, and somewhere in the mix, because they marched at the beat of their own release date drummer, but Cuphead's Delicious Last Course additional content. That's a whole extra chunk of game there. So that's a bigger first half than they've had entire years for most of this generation.
Was Cuphead 17 as well, or was it
Cuphead
18?
was fall 2017. Yeah, you got that. We remembered correctly.
Just thinking off the top of my head, I think that has to be because it's like this is the last stop. It's either you ship your game now or forever hold your peace, because Scarlet's right around the corner, and you need to be developing your Scarlet titles. So they're probably wrapping up production on those this year for release in early 2020.
Maybe. I get the feeling that Microsoft doesn't sort of operate that way, and I think it's probably all just kind of worked out that way. I mean, maybe that's naive of me to say, but I don't think Microsoft said, hey, we got to get this stuff out before Scarlet, because everything's going to work on Scarlet anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
And what you think Microsoft probably would have been happy to have some stuff. Oh, if some stuff slipped, and it's like, well, now we're going to launch it on the Scarlet and on the Xbox One. I'm sure Microsoft would not have been too upset about that. So I think this just kind of all worked out.
Well, one of my big critiques is that we do not have the AAA experiences that are the reason that a lot of us are Xbox gamers. We don't have a Ninja Gaiden. We don't have a BioWare Mass Effect style RPG.
Absolutely true.
We do not have a Halo right now.
Yeah.
That's fairly new.
Yeah.
Gritty more adult-themed games.
Yes.
We're lacking that severely in the Xbox library right now. Most of the games that you listed are fairly targeted towards teenagers, and not 18 and up. And
that's true.
And thank God Gears 5 came out this year. That was such a breath of fresh air for the Xbox platform.
Phenomenal game
Also. And yeah, I mean, I was going to give this feedback later, but I do think that is a dangerous place to be in right now, and I hope they address it with Scarlet. And I'm wondering if they've been banking that sort of need that I've been looking for, at least in the Xbox library, for the Scarlet.
Well, I think you're right in that. So, what I was kind of politely trying to say here, and I don't mean this as a knock against any of these games, none of these are AAA games.
They're Bs.
Right.
They're just. I mean,
B++++.
I think even Phil Spencer, if he were here, I think would say that. I mean, it's great that it's a game a month for 4 months or 5, depending on where Cuphead slots in. But yeah, these are all smaller scale things. But you're right. Like in the fall, we are going to get big games, first party games in the fall. I would be dumbfounded if Halo Infinite was the only AAA that's going to be from Microsoft this fall, because it's a console launch. There's going to be something else. I'm sure. And okay, I guess Forza probably counts as that. But I think there'll be something else even in addition to that. Halo, Forza, and probably a lot more that is to be announced. But yeah, I mean, there's whatever the other big project that Ninja Theory is doing that they told us about at E3 as they announced Bleeding Edge. Say, hey, we're working
just so
on,
you know,
we got single player stuff too.
If you jumped on the Ninja Theory train because of Hellblade, we got more of that flavor coming. So there is that. Sorry, go ahead.
Bleeding Edge is that hero shooter, answer to sort of Overwatch or whatever. And it's
in a way,
it's like, well, I have Overwatch though,
right?
And that's the thing.
I want my Xbox stuff.
Yeah. That's the thing.
fair.
I think is the Xbox is the ecosystem for. Look, if it's not a Sony first party exclusive, like the Xbox is sort of the best place, the best ecosystem to be in. Not to mention Game Pass, right? Outside of that, but with the Xbox One X, like that's what I play most of my third party games on, just because odds are
it looks better. Look at Red Dead 2.
It looks or runs better on the Xbox. So
Jedi Fallen Order.
You've already got that going for
that's
you.
so good.
But I can't. I walked by and saw a spoiler today. And
Well, just talking about Xbox One X. Go ahead.
Yeah. But what all these announcements at X019 did for me was sort of, it looked like a double down on what Microsoft already does really well, which is cooperative service-based games, cooperative online games, in addition to being the best place to play third-party games. So that missing piece of the puzzle is what we need to see come fall.
Yeah.
With Halo Infinite, with, in the same flavor of whatever Ninja Theory's thing is, we need that.
Fable.
Which
will be coming back.
We need those killer, like, just AAA experiences or whatever the initiative is working on, the quote-unquote quadruple A studio made to rival, the God of Wars and the Uncharted's and the Death Strandings and all that.
You're absolutely right, Brandon. And if you look at the first half of the show, what did we talk about? Chronicles of Riddick, dark, gritty. Splinter Cell, dark and gritty. Compelling moral decisions from BioWare. Shooters, Rainbow Six, Halo 1, Halo 2. We need these type of entries for the Xbox One.
And what's amazing about, I know times are changed. We're in a completely different era now, but most of those big games that we talked about as our favorites from the original Xbox, most of them were third-party exclusives. Most of them, somehow Microsoft, Splinter Cell Chaos Theory exclusive, KOTOR exclusive, Riddick exclusive.
Well, think about it. Hey, Microsoft, the biggest software company in the world, is making a video game console. You want in?
Yeah.
Like, who says no to that?
That was PS2 era, though. PS2 had a huge foothold on the audience. So, they were winning Xbox launches, and they launched with some of the best games of the last. When did the Xbox
They didn't launch with them. They launched with Halo and
their final library was stunning.
And Assault.
So was PlayStation 2's. GameCube had a few games too, but what Xbox managed to do with the OG Xbox was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Oh, and because Miranda's out today, we'd all be remiss if we didn't at least say Fusion Frenzy.
Fusion Frenzy for Miranda.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, all right, it's a pretty good segue, guys, into.
Before we move on to that, Xbox Game Pass. I mean, That service is.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
There is another win too that I wanted to bring up, but your app,
well, no, go,
Game
yeah,
Pass. No, please, Game Pass is very important.
Keep it going on the good stuff.
Yeah.
Game Pass is hands down the best deal in gaming, right?
Yeah.
You can't argue against it.
They announced a lot more Game Pass stuff here.
There are over 40 games coming to Game Pass. The likes, oh my God, I can't.
A bunch of Final Fantasies.
All the Final Fantasies, seemingly.
14 is coming to Xbox.
Wait, really?
Yeah. They said that in an interview, apparently.
Hold on. You keep talking. I'm going to look this up because that's...
Okay.
So there was...
It was like a quote from an interview
there was
after
the
show.
Oh, after the show. Okay.
Yeah.
Because there was a translated
Was
section during the show where they talked about and 7 or and 8 and 9 and 10 and you're going to get 11. And they like really monster truck announcer.
11 is coming to
I
one?
have no idea.
Because 11 was also
Don't take any of that as gospel. We have an article up that lists all the Final Fantasies. Please go look at that before you take anything I say.
Okay. Yes, Ryan. Please fact check me.
Yeah.
This is Eurogamer. Got the SEO juice on this. They're like all the first ones. The Xbox boss Phil Spencer has promised Final Fantasy XIV is coming to Microsoft's console. Speaking to press during a pre-X019 event, Spencer announced 9 Final Fantasy games from 7 to 15, then brought up the elephant in the room, 14. Quote, the astute people out there might have noticed there's one Final Fantasy that's missing in our list, number 14. 14 is one I've been dedicated to, working with Yoshida-san to find a solution to bring that game to Xbox. And while it's not in the news today, I wanted you to know, rest assured, that we will be bringing that game to Xbox. That is pretty clear-cut and definitive.
There you go.
That relationship, the fact that it ever happened is astounding to me. That was built for PlayStation and for PC, and the fact that they managed to get to Xbox, that says a lot about Phil's influence and what he's able to do if he gets in the room with the right people.
News.
Okay, so games...
you're going back to Game Pass here, yes.
Going back to Game Pass. Games that came out Thursday of X019. This was November 14th. Added to Game Pass. Age of Empires 2, Age of Wonders Planetfall, Hearts of Iron 4 Cadet Edition, Lego the Ninja Movie video game, Ninjago movie video game.
Yes.
Rage 2, pretty big one.
Yeah, that's a recent game.
Remnant from the Ashes, which you liked.
It's very good.
Yeah. It's like a cooperative, I don't want to say Dark Souls shooter, but it's got that like strafe Dark Souls feel to it.
Yeah,
The Talos Principle, great puzzle game. Tracks, the train set game, if you like trains. Games coming this holiday in quotation. So
the next month.
At some point this month. Tomorrow. Yeah. Darksiders 3.
Oh, wow.
Fairly new game.
From last year.
Life is Strange 2, episodes 4 and 5 are hitting console. The Red Strings Club, which you were also behind.
Yeah, that's very cool. Cyberpunk adventure game.
Vambrace Cold Soul, The Escapists 2, Halo Reach, finally coming to console and PC as part of the Halo Master Chief Collection. In December.
Yes.
December 3rd.
Yes, thank you.
So they will introduce Halo Master Chief Collection to PC with Reach and then start adding games.
Building out from there, but on Xbox, obviously, we've got it all.
My friend Pedro, if you like skateboards and guns, oh my God, that game is so good. And then finally, maybe my favorite game ever, but one of the best games of all time, clearly, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt is coming to Game Pass. So if you haven't played that, there is no excuse.
150-hour, that's a game of the decade contending role-playing game.
Not even the generation. It's the Yeah.
I think 3 of the Game of the Year contenders, the Game Awards just released their nominees today, including Control and Outer Worlds, are on Game Pass. And that was really, really impressive.
That's
also
crazy.
And then weren't the Yakuza games coming to Game Pass as well?
Games coming in 2020. Yeah. I'm just going to read these off. No editorialization. Except Carrion is coming out, and that game looks so good.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that in a few minutes. But
John Carpenter's The Thing, the video game, but only the sections where it's a weird tentacle monster. That game looks fantastic. Okay. Carrion, Chris Tales, Cyber Shadow, cool little Ninja Gaiden game, Double Kick Heroes, Edge of Eternity, Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy VIII Remastered, Final Fantasy IX, Final Fantasy X HD, Final Fantasy X-2 HD, Final Fantasy XII, The Zodiac Age, Final Fantasy XIII, Final Fantasy XIII-2, Lightning Returns, Final Fantasy XIII, Final Fantasy 15, Forager, Haven, It Lurks Below.
Those are all on Game Pass?
Yeah, these are all coming
Holy crap.
These are all coming in 2020. Haven, It Lurks Below, Levelhead, Fogs.
Oh, It Lurks Below. That's David Brevik's
That's
game,
David Brevik's
the
new
creator
game.
of Diablo. Yeah.
It's like Terraria, but
Diablo.
Like Diablo Fantasy.
Yeah.
Very cool. I actually played it for quite a while. Our preview version of it. She Dreams Elsewhere, Skatebird. I mean, come on. Streets of Rage 4, shout out to Tinsley. Scourgebringer, Supraland, Tekken 7, Tuhu Luna Nights, The Red Lantern, and West of Dead.
Man, that is a ton of stuff. Yeah, Game Pass, astounding.
It's the best service in gaming. Period. Hands
Now,
down.
you combine that with one of their other announcements, and I wanted to bring this up because Stadia came out today. Stadia came out today.
Yeah.
Some technical problems. It functions. I think the consensus is very cynical online.
For now.
People think it's a failure and like it's not going to work. We'll see. Time will tell. But xCloud.
Yeah.
And the big advantage xCloud has, man, I really want to get my hands on it, by the way. DLeGary at IGN.com if anybody can help me.
You have an iPhone. It's not working on iPhone
It's on
yet.
Android right now. They are going to...
We have Android phones I could borrow, get it installed on.
Well,
I mean, Miranda's got access to it because she has Android.
She didn't tell me. But the point I'm trying to make
wonder
is
why.
your whole Xbox library is available on xCloud eventually, of course.
Yeah.
They're rolling out games as we talk.
The console streaming.
Including Game Pass.
Yes. Well, xCloud is also going to be included in Game Pass, right? Moving forward. In addition to that, Game Pass is also giving you access, like 3 months free. What is it? Discord Nitro, Spotify,
and a bunch of stuff.
6 months. But yeah, man,
So it sounds marketing-y, but it's a bunch of free months to things.
Yeah, it's just like Microsoft has created an ecosystem that you cannot compete with.
Yeah.
You can't compete with Xbox Game Pass and Xbox Live right now, moving into the next generation where hopefully they have those games that we're waiting for.
Stadia's disadvantage. You got to rebuy all that stuff. xCloud, no, you already own all that stuff. Play them.
Yeah.
Play them on the go. And I think that's, in hindsight, like, I really, really want to try and see where it's at now, because now I've tried Stadia in the wild.
Yeah.
I need to try xCloud in the wild.
Yeah.
Because if they nail it, they win.
And to be fair, Phil Spencer did say during the Inside Xbox that xCloud would be something that's not finished for several years. They're just going to keep building it and building it and building it. So it'll be, I'm sure, playable in various ways and shapes and forms, but it is not just a thing that's going to be done and out soon. It's just going to be this very, ambitious service that builds out over a long period of time. So, so real quick, man, we've already been talking for a while here. Let's just go over. I mean,
Couple of the misses.
constructive criticisms for. I know I'm going to probably get added a lot on Twitter for this stuff, including maybe by some Microsoft people, but so Grounded was the other big announcement we didn't talk about.
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids?
From Obsidian.
Okay, so it is a survival game.
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Cooperative
survival.
PvE survival game.
With base building, crafting, exploration, seemingly.
Yeah, and so if you guys disagree, I'll love to hear it, because I think there's definitely plenty of angles to be had here, but I have nothing against Grounded as a game. It looks interesting. I like the visual aesthetic. I love the fact that it basically is Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, the game. I am old enough where that's a movie that means a lot to me. So,
Rick Moranis.
But I feel like it was not a good choice. Not saying they should cancel it or should have canceled it, because they did say it was in development prior to the Microsoft acquisition, and it's 13 or 14 people. It's a small chunk of the Obsidian team right now, so that still means theoretically there's the bulk of the Pillars team, Pillars of Eternity, that's probably working on another larger scale project for Scarlet down the way. But to what you guys were saying just a few minutes ago about you want big tentpole awesome games on Xbox, and Microsoft's been buying all these studios, and we're finally going to start to get that stuff. They have the talent in-house to do it. And then the first game you announce from Obsidian, who's a studio, one of the more exciting of the acquisitions, because they have such a rich history with creating AAA RPGs. And then you announce another multiplayer, like, I don't want to necessarily call it a service-based game, but an emergent game with that seemingly doesn't have a KOTOR or Outer Worlds like narrative to it. I just feel like it was not the right game, not the best choice to announce as the first thing from Obsidian since the acquisition.
One commonality I noticed during the entirety of the presentation of X019 is so many of these new properties are built around a wacky, zany gimmick. Yep. And I'm very fatigued by that at this point because I've seen so many studios do it, and I want core experiences back. I have so few. Star Wars this week has been such an amazing breath of fresh air. It's a Dark Souls light, and it just nails an excellent Star Wars story. It's a single player campaign. It's built in the Unreal Engine, and it's fantastic, in my opinion.
Yes, I agree.
I think you should go play that game, absolutely. And what did we see at X019 that could deliver something of that same caliber? Very little to nothing.
The Witcher 3 on Xbox Game
Pass. It's like an old game. And that game, I'm really, really fatigued by zany, wacky gimmicks. Yeah. That's why it didn't do it for me.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not to say that big stuff isn't coming.
Sure.
Again, my point is the timing of the announcement.
Yes, from a marketing standpoint.
You could have sat on that for a while because it's going into early access, Xbox Game Preview in spring 2020.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Could have held on to that one. I just feel like, again, as the first thing you announce from Obsidian since the acquisition, I know I looked at it and went, because I had gotten my hopes up.
Yep.
I had said, great, Obsidian's going to be at this thing.
Yeah.
Yes, this is going to be the Pillars team's big new RPG. Meanwhile, the Outer Worlds team just shipped this incredible role-playing game. Oh, man, I can't wait to see it. This is going to be for Scarlet. This is where we're going. Oh, okay. All right. It's another multiplayer thing. Just it's in the same way, like, and tell. I thought it was very telling in both cases. At E3, we talked about it a few minutes ago. The Ninja Theory guys came out before they announced Bleeding Edge, or as they were doing it. They said, we have they like preemptive damage control.
Yes,
we
absolutely.
have other bigger scale single player stuff. Mm-hmm. The same thing happened. They threw to a couple of devs from Obsidian when they announced Grounded, and they said, we've got other stuff. We've got other big single players. Like, they knew that this was going to be the response, so they were doing the preemptive damage control. And so I just feel like, again, I'll wait and see on Grounded, but I would have just assumed they not announce this now.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to be an apologist, right? Because I think that with X019, there's fair criticism there. Inside Xbox has never really been a platform to announce major things on. Currently, and X018, X019, like they were shaping it up as a PSX level event back when Sony still did those. Yeah. I don't know if they're going to do it this year.
Nope.
But Microsoft doesn't have the ammunition to fire those shots off.
Yet.
Right? Yet.
It's all very early,
Yes, but they still need to maintain relevancy. They still need to maintain that sort of hype level of their ecosystem, of their console. And granted, they have a lot of it going, but none of it are those tentpole games that we were talking about earlier. So I don't know if it comes from a place of insecurity or it comes from a place of just like needing to carry a narrative that, hey, we still have a lot of irons in the fire. We still have a lot of cogs turning. But they treat, and we spoke a little bit about this, they treat sort of smaller announcements, relatively speaking, right? They treat sort of smaller announcements as big tentpole things. And it comes off, yes, it checks that box that you do have new things and they are exclusive and they are first party. But it also comes off as like your first party exclusive announcements are this level, this tier. Versus what we've seen with maybe other platforms, right? So it does like beg that question: is it worth even announcing? And I think it is. Like you have to announce. You have to talk about what you're working on. Mm-hmm. They need that relevancy, and it was, I think, announcing Grounded is the lesser of two evils to just another XO event where Microsoft doesn't have anything to talk about. They don't have any games.
I mean, they had Everwild, and I thought the Dontnod is a second party thing. Mm-hmm. Like.
They had enough announcements for a pretty decent 1 hour long show. The problem is they've bloated it to 2.5 hours because they know they've got you. Mm-hmm. And you know what I could do without?
Well, it wasn't it was an hour and a half.
It felt like 2.5 hours.
I know. We'll get to
but
that.
Here's
Maybe
what
you're thinking of our post show that ran afterwards.
Here's what I could do without, though. The 3 segments where they tell me about their discounts and sales, the trailers for stuff that's already been out.
Yeah.
That's not necessary for something like that. I don't think that's the place to do it because it expands your conference. And everybody within the Microsoft ecosystem is trying to get their 5 minutes or whatever that they get. The secondary piece of feedback, sorry, Ryan,
Go ahead.
to interrupt you, is
No.
that everything comes off campy and annoying. I feel like I'm being marketed to the entire presentation.
I definitely agree.
So
Yeah.
if you play the part of announcer, like I was going to do, we won't actually do
Oh, wait. Are we going to
all
do
right,
a skit?
do it.
Let's do a skit.
What am I announcing?
So just announce that Destin's coming out with a new game, and it's called Destin's Game.
Am I reading off the teleprompter?
Yeah, we're reading off a teleprompter, but we're trying to act natural.
Oh, okay. So we're proud to announce the new game from Ligari Studios. It is called...
Destiny.
It is called... Oh, there it goes. It is called
Oh, man.
Destiny 3.
Nope.
Thank you so much, Ryan. I'm so happy to be here for Destiny 3 reveal.
right.
It is really good. And the studio is really, really excited. It comes off campy. It comes off not genuine.
No,
and it does something to the audience's perception of like, I know I'm being marketed to, and I hate this.
You're going right where I wanted to go. Yeah. But real quick, to circle back to what you said, Brandon, about kind of maybe little big for the britches is the end of the perfect example of that is the one more thing. The closer was, we've got one more thing for you.
Oh, yeah.
And it was
Wasteland?
a new trailer for Wasteland 3, which again, Brian Fargo is a legendary game creator, part of the Microsoft family in Exile Studios, but that's a game we've seen many times before. I just feel like that's not the way to end the show in that exact way. Like, okay, well, you close with that if you want, but you can't. Just don't hype that up unless it's going to be a new Halo Infinite teaser.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised that they opened. I mean, they opened with their 2 new announced games, and I get it. Maybe you want to start off on the right foot, but I mean, after the Fortnite sponsorship trailer, there was Everwild, and then there was Grounded.
But Grounded and Don't Nod are your openers. Everwild your closer. They put Wasteland in there wherever you want, really, because we've seen that game already. Yeah. We know that's coming. It was such a bizarre closer.
Yeah, but you're right, Destin. I want to talk about this too. It's just real quick because again, we don't want to harp on it. It's very easy. I mean, it's easy to sit here and criticize.
Yeah.
Again, I say this all the time. Putting those shows together, I have like a little bit of experience with it. It's extremely difficult. Mm-hmm. It is very hard, and especially, I imagine it's even harder when you're Microsoft. And to your point, you're kind of trying to play. You're trying to keep everybody happy. Well, it's like, what about does my game get my 5 minutes in here and this and that? But yeah, I thought it was very overproduced. The raucous crowd cheering, like, okay, well, I get that those people are happy to be there.
Yeah, it is a fan event.
But between the cheering for these tiny announcements plus the obvious teleprompter stuff, it just comes off as a little much. Where like it's kind of in a sharp contrast to and the runtime. I totally agree about the runtime was way too much. Like you mentioned Carrion. Mm-hmm. Great ID at Xbox game a great looking game that's gonna launch into Game Pass, and then there was another one. Hang on, it's from the Virginia creator called. I have it here for a second. There it is. Last Stop.
Yeah,
which was that sort of mystery game with and apparently I'm in that game. There's a guy that looks exactly like me. I pop up in games every few years.
Like, you've been in a few.
I've been in a
games.
few video games uncredited, apparently. There were, I think, 3 montages in there that and one of them was an ID at Xbox montage.
Yeah. It becomes noise at some point.
Do a Nindies style direct. Do a separate ID at Xbox 20-minute thing, whether it's hosted with Major Nelson and Jeff and the crew or not, and let's focus on a few of them. And so going in, this is going to be all about the ID at Xbox stuff. and it's not going to be, it's not just going to be lumped in with a bunch of other things. So I could have, I think that could have saved a bunch of time and served both shows better. Could have served the ID games better, could have served this event better. But yeah, too long, overproduced, and it's just,
You're absolutely right. That is the solution. You need to break. You're doing too much in one show.
Yes.
Your like X019 show should be your spectacle.
I was exhausted by the end of it. Like that's, and as someone who's there to cover it. So I know we got to wrap up. We are quickly running out of time, and I don't I hate to end on. Maybe I should have done the bad stuff first, but it's hopefully this could the hope was that this comes off as constructive criticism. These are things that can be evolved and can be made better in future events. But it was great to get a new game from Rare. The Dontnod thing was great. The Game Pass stuff continues to just cook, just stuff on fire every time.
I can't say enough about that service. And I think as we go, I know we got to wrap up, but I think as we go and the announcements become larger and larger,
yes,
and more
and they will, and that's the thing, they will.
It's a loss leader plan.
Yeah, Microsoft's production value is clearly out of the park. Like whoever puts on these Inside
they're
Xbox
putting a lot of money
shows
into
and
it.
X019 shows, they're clearly spending money. They're clearly very talented. I think part of the disingenuousness of these shows is
because of the 20 rehearsals.
Well, it's also because, you got to act hyped and you got to act excited. And maybe the caliber of announcements that they have right now doesn't really lend itself with that level of enthusiasm that we're seeing.
Their best reveal for me was something that was still scripted but still came off genuine, and that was when Sean Murray came out and said, we're bringing No Man's Sky to Xbox with No Man's Sky Next. He was humble. He kind of owned up to
but that's Sean Murray.
The stigma behind it. Yes,
it's like I would watch Mark Cerny read the back of a cereal box and it still be fascinating. Like there are just some people who can deliver.
I suppose. I think the moments when it's not scripted really come through as genuine, and I really appreciate those moments. And they've scripted it too much, overproduced.
I agree with that.
I think there is a level of just like our 7 hosts are going to guide you through an explosive day.
I guarantee, as someone who does what we do for a living, there is a postmortem meeting of probably a very long one, an hour, maybe 2 hours, that Microsoft is either having now as they're all back or is going to have very soon, where I'm sure they're all going to bring up a lot of internal feedback from inside Xbox and X019 and again, I think they brought this back last year, then they did this year, and I really think they'll learn a lot from both of those, and they'll have more ammo in the clip with Scarlet for X019 next year, and I think we are building towards it, and hopefully they will take some of these constructive criticisms into account and continue to deliver better and better stuff. The Rare was the highlight. That's the big winner. Can't wait to see what that game is going to be, and I guess that's probably the second. Even though they didn't literally say this is for Scarlet, it's sort of the second official first-party.
Unofficial,
game,
official,
right?
yeah.
Because again, we assume Forza 8, Motorsport 8 is going to launch, but it hasn't been mentioned yet.
Yeah.
So I think it's the second one after Halo.
Yeah. Ryan, we really need to wrap it up.
I
apologize for bringing it up.
We're very late. So we'll save. It's too bad I had an episode 420 themed loot box, but we'll do it next week, and then we'll get back to trivia next week. Hopefully Miranda will return as well. So for Destin Legary and Brendan Tyrell, I'm Ryan McCaffrey. This was Podcast Unlocked 420, which everybody at Microsoft probably hated, and maybe you did too. But you know what? We put our stuff out there, and if you like it, great, and if not, there's always another show next week. That's how I like to look at it.
They can give us feedback about Podcast
That's true.
Unlocked.
Yeah, we'll get notes from Microsoft about how bad this episode was, and it'll be the real quid pro quo. Oh no! All right,
all right, bye.
We're out of here. We will see you guys next week.